as a father, as a grandfather, you think, did it work? Did I really implant anything? Did it really take effect? Did the things that I learned and try to expose them to and train them, did it work? Did I, But when you see the fruit of that, when that fruit starts to come up, you are really pleasantly surprised that they did listen to you.
Hey, and welcome to another edition of ManCave. The month of June, we've dedicated to celebrating fathers, and most of the time when it comes around Father's Day, we just talk about fathers just in general. But this particular episode, we're gonna dive into when the seasons change. I'm surrounded by a group of men that have adult children, or they have ascended to grandpa status or papa status. And we want to talk to you because, it's different. I mean, when you're raising a kid, when you're raising children under the age of 18, it requires something of you. And we want to just take a glimpse into your lives, and maybe you can inspire men on, what happens when the season changes.
Yeah, I can start with that.
The vintage one. That's
yeah.
We don't call them old, we call them vintage.
Right. Okay. And I like that. As a matter of
man,
fact. That's all good.
Yeah.
I think for me, when my kids got older and I became a grandfather, the way you deal with your kids has to change. The way I dealt with my kids had to change. When they're little, you tend to want to steer them and guide them in this direction that you think is best for them to go. But then at some point, you kind of have to back off of that and kind of let them do what they think is right. So your role changes from, we have to do it this way. We have to do it my way because this is the way that's going to, you're going to be successful at least that's what we think, to now, wait a minute, you're an adult. You get to make your own decisions. God has a plan in your life that's for you, and it's for you alone. It's not the plan that I have for you anymore.
So good, man.
So that's for me. That's when it changed. That's how it changed.
That's so good. Vintage when you have learned well. No, I would say, my daughter, she is 21, and I think it boils down to trust. I tried to be as intentional as I could growing up. Raising her, intentionality with raising her and showing her she was a priority. She was the get to, not the got to, and showing her how a man is supposed to treat her, that type of thing. They're giving her a true sense of herself, her self-worth. And so you make those deposits. And the moment they become grown, listen, you can't control it anymore. It becomes, I have to trust that what I put in, when life is going to come and going to call the bluff on all of it, I have to trust that what I put in, whenever the opportunity presents itself, it's going to come out, And so that's a hard thing because we want to try to control, especially as fathers. Sometimes some of the guys of protection, we want to protect them. But there are other times you have to say, you know what, let me take my hands off and trust that what I put in her is going to come out when the opportunity presents itself.
Absolutely.
What about you, Q?
No, that's good.
Because you're right in the middle of it.
I am.
In the middle. You're right in the middle of it right now.
Yeah. Our son is 22, and our daughter, she'll be 19 this year. But I think it's, what you said, Pastor Chris, and Lorenzo, just a mixture of, the Bible tells us to train our children. Like when they're young, our youngest one, we still train them. We don't trust them as much.
That's good.
That's good.
Training over trust.
We don't trust them as much.
But that switch happens to where you go from training to trusting, knowing that we're not in the driver's seat, that we're not in control, that we can do the best we can throughout their life. But when they become adults, those decisions and those choices are on them. And so I feel like we've become more of counselors to them now. You know what I mean? Instead of giving them our opinion, I try to share my experiences, because if I tell them what I think they should do, it seems like they hear it just a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and so we kind of go to sharing our experiences, how we've dealt with certain similar situations in order to help kind of guide them in that aspect. So, but I feel that shift where it's like, we got to trust them. We got to trust that what we instilled in them, that those things will come to the top when it's time for them to make those choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really felt that I have not ascended to
You on your way though, brother.
your
vintage
the
stage.
level of your
Stage.
You gonna
statuses.
blink twice, you'll be 18.
But you know, I felt it shift with my father. Not so much with my mom, because she I think mother's gonna always
That's
try
mama.
to tell you what to do,
Yeah.
how to do it,
Especially
the
if
way
you're
it
the
needs to
baby
be
boy.
done. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're the baby boy.
But my father, I went to him in my 20s, early 20s, expecting him to give me his version. And everything shifted because he asked me, he says, well, what do you feel?
That's good, man.
Well, what do you
Yeah.
want to do?
Yeah.
Well, what do you feel like you're being called to? Where do you feel like you want to go? And I could tell that he was taking a step back and he was going to provide wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Instead of direction.
Yeah.
That he recognized that in me, I needed a sounding board because the direction was going to really come from me.
Yeah.
But his wisdom in how to navigate what I was going to do and things to watch out for and things to look out for versus telling me this is the way in which you should go.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does coaching now, you know, grandfather, the vintage status, or you know, or Chris, where you are, what does coaching look? Because I think it's that nurturing, it's that training, but now we're coaching, right? We're coaching the talent. What does that look like for you?
I always tell her this: being with you is a privilege. I have to constantly make her aware of, like, listen, being with you is a privilege. You are intelligent. You are amazing. And I'm constantly affirming and reaffirming because I think everything will come and it stems out of that sense of identity and you knowing who you are. So to me, the coaching is I'm constantly reminding her not of her mistakes, you know, because sometimes as parents, that's where we make a big mistake is we're constantly, well, that's what's wrong with you. And you shouldn't have done that. And why are you thinking like this? I'm constantly affirming that thing that, you know what, you got this, baby. You're strong. You've never been weak. Don't be weak now. And I'm seeing that as I affirm that, she begins to walk in it. Sometimes it takes time.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what coaching is. It starts with the awareness of, no, you got the talent. I'm not giving you talent.
Yeah.
You're here because you are
that.
talented. So that is the disposition upon which she lives her life.
Yeah.
Not like me trying to put that in her. So
That's
the awareness is where I kind of start.
Yeah. That's really
That
good.
affirming that value that's already there.
It's already there.
Because I do feel like that, you know, Miles Monroe, you know, talked about the power of a father and that the reason why, you know, fathers in the Bible, they name their children is because there's something that comes from the father that shapes the child's identity and not only shapes their identity, but gives them a sense of purpose, gives them a sense of you have value. And I love that because I think that really does men and women. I'm not taking away anything for the women who've had to step up to the plate because there's an absence of a father. But I do feel like even if a guy or a young lady's father has been incarcerated for years and they don't have a relationship, when they see that father, there is something that you know that I'm of his DNA. So beyond the issues we may have, there's something about hearing, I'm proud of you from that individual. It's something about hearing, if you can get beyond all the stuff that's caused distortions and caused these issues, there is still something wired into the DNA that voice has been ordained to affirm and value you.
Yeah. I think I want to speak to the fathers that would say that since you aren't nurturing and guiding your children, since you don't have that constant put this down, pick that up, go here, go to school, that, right? And when it flips to just the counseling role, don't think of yourself as any less than a father because what you're now putting into them has diminished or has decreased, right? You see what I'm saying? It's just changed.
Wow.
So you're still have that fatherly influence on your children. And I know that you could probably say, wow, it's not enough. They're not asking me enough questions. You know, when things happen in their life, they're not coming to me anymore because they may be married, they may have boyfriends or something like that, and you may feel that it's putting you in this back burner position.
Wow,
It's
that's so
putting you in
good.
a position of I don't have any worth anymore. But that is not the case, because anything you say to your children, whether it's a little bit, whether you affirm them with one thing and saying, hey, you know what, you did that really good, or I like the way you did that, and that's all you did, that makes such an impact in their life that they go, hey, that's still my dad. Even though we don't talk, you're still my dad. Even though I'm not getting advice from you every day, you're still my dad. So don't think of yourself, and you know, I went through that as well, trying to tell myself, hey, it's, you know, it's fatherhood's
That's
not
so
over,
good,
right?
man.
Fatherhood's not over. It's just changed.
It changed.
And then you know.
We
So
saw that
you
in
have to
Scripture.
read
Go
it.
ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, we see it in Scripture. We see that when Jesus was baptized before he walked into his ministry, you know, the heavens opened and he said, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased.
Yeah.
Hear ye him." That's the
Yeah.
affirmation of a father before Jesus goes into ministry.
Yeah.
Now Jesus is on the cross dying, stripped naked. I mean, dying. That voice did not appear. Because the voice had the trust that I already put everything inside of you to make sure that you can make it through this moment. You
Yes.
already have it.
Yeah,
So you got to understand, as a father, I love how you put that perspective is everything, having the awareness that the season has changed.
Yeah.
I may not be telling you X, Y, and Z, but I have to stand back and trust that everything I put inside of you, you're prepared for the moment that you're in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that silence is significant.
It's significant.
That's significant to be able to trust. And sometimes as fathers, we just don't feel like, you know, it's that, you know, I guess redefining your role may be the toughest thing.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Redefining your role. I mean, Sydney's not at that age, but, you know, because of COVID, they weren't able to go to school and stuff like that. And she was like, Dad, you know, in elementary school, you dropped me off at school, but, you know, you gonna let me walk to school, you gonna let me I said, absolutely not, girl. I'm rolling up, blasting some rock and roll music, and when you get out the car, it's like, Sydney, give your daddy a kiss. Give your daddy, come on. She's like, Daddy, that's disgusting. That's just horrible.
Yeah.
But I remember a day when she would crawl up in my arms just for me to love on her and kiss her or whatever. Now she's like, Dad, you cannot do that. You're gonna embarrass me. You're gonna whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm already in some ways redefining that role and that perspective in some ways in her life. What about you, Keidra? How are you redefining that role? What does coaching look like for you? Because you have kids that still, you know, haven't yet ascended to their career.
Right.
They haven't ascended to, you know, that they're right in that middle. What does that coaching look like from you?
Man, really is reinforcing to them that there's no pressure on them to make us proud.
That's good, man.
Yeah, that is good.
I think when you brought the scripture about, you know, how God spoke and said that, you know, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Jesus hadn't done, right?
Anything.
There was no
Anything,
action,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But letting our kids know, hey, I love you for who you are. It's not what you do that's going to make me proud. We have instilled values because we want them to be something. Who they are character-wise is more important than what you actually do in life career-wise. And so relieving that pressure of them feeling like, I got to make my dad proud. I remember having a conversation with our oldest son, Aaron, and I just shared with him as far as like, listen, you know your mother, we both have degrees and we went to college. Listen, we had to do what we needed to do for what we felt like y'all needed and what we needed for you all. But you have a path and we don't want you to feel like you have to meet our beat our expectations. You know what I mean? Or do what we did, how we did it.
Right.
And he said immediately after that, thanks, Dad. Like that helped me out a lot because I felt like I needed to get a doctor's degree because, you know, Mom has a master's. I feel like, you know, you went to college and you finished and I needed. And I wanted him to know there's no pressure for that, son. Be who God called you to be. Be a great person.
Yeah.
Be a great man.
They're great
You
kids,
know,
man. You have
absolutely.
Thank
phenomenal
you.
kids.
Thank you,
Yeah.
God.
I think not many kids have that opportunity because I think in some ways, they do feel that pressure. It's like we live in a meritocracy. So the more you achieve, it's almost like that equates to more love. But you know what I mean? But I wasn't raised like that. Like, they were proud of me, right? But my parents didn't say, well, I love you even more because you went to this school or you moved to Texas or you did whatever. It's like that thing is already fixed in. And here's what's troubling. I'm not sure as fathers, we're really, and I'm just talking about this panel, but I'm just saying in general, I'm not sure we're voicing that. I'm not sure our kids feel that and feel that sense. They feel that pressure that they have to become something, but they haven't learned to be. And that being is, man, I'm already proud of you. Whatever you decide to do in life, I got your back. You know what I mean? I got you. I'm gonna be, whether you follow in my footsteps to be a doctor or not, you're a part of me. And whatever you're gonna do, you'll succeed because you're a part of me. Right? I don't think they hear that. I just think they feel the pressure from friends as well as families to live up to a certain expectation. Now, I think there should be a bar somewhere. But it
can't be a bum in my house.
You can't be a bum. You got to get out and do something with your life. You got to figure it out. But this whole idea of affirmation,
dude, it's so big.
that I think that they need to have that awareness. And I think as fathers, we need to share that more.
I will say too, the to-be lists are greater than the to-do lists. To be loving, to be humble, to be caring, instead of to do school and do all these things like that. Yes, there's a goal there. You want to set a plan, but the to-be list is greater than the to-do list. And I think that definitely speaks to what you're saying as far as like we need to voice that more. Like this is what you need to be. This is how you need to be in these circumstances, because character is greater than your career. Like it really is. You can be a doctor but have bad character. And I'd rather deal with someone that has a great character than have a great career.
It's like, I call it the know, be, do principle. I think it was in Daniel. He says, they that know their God shall be courageous and do exploits. Know, be, do. If you get the know,
that's good.
The being is going to follow. And you'll never have to worry about what they're going to do as long as they got the know. Where we have messed up in society is we place the focus on the doing.
Oh my God.
And we skip 2 steps. And that is why you got people that are constantly, they have huge bank accounts, they got money, and they're still chasing affirmation because nobody ever fixed the knowing. That's why you have millionaires that kill themselves. That's why you have people that are going through so much and you're like, you have everything. But the problem is the knowing wasn't addressed.
Wow.
That's so
good.
And I think as a father and then as a grandfather as well, the vintage one. I think going through this, don't think just because the things that you have deposited in your children, you may not see come back to you right away. Don't think that it wasn't deposited, because it was. And for me, when I see my daughter now reacting to her son in a way that's pleasing to me, I may have missed it or I didn't think that it took, when I was teaching this to her a long time ago. But now she's saying kind of some of the same things that I've said. She's kind of acting some of the same ways, some of the good ways. Even though the other day she said that a guy pulled her, cut over in front of her on the freeway. She drove up real fast to go get. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that.
Don't do that anymore, baby girl.
So she does have a little daddy in her. But no, to see her then translate those things that we have taught to now my grandson and granddaughter. Just really, really touches my heart, because you as a father, as a grandfather, you think, did it work? Did I really implant anything? Did it really take effect? Did the things that I learned and try to expose them to and train them, did it work? Did I, But when you see the fruit of that, when that fruit starts to come up, you are really pleasantly surprised that they did listen to you.
And I think that the testament of that is that there's not always just because you have sown a seed, there's not an instant harvest.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? But we are the fruit of our experiences and the people who have shaped our lives.
Yeah.
You know, I want to thank these guys for being here today and sharing these experiences. And I would encourage you, man, if you feel, you know, if you're watching this and you feel some of the friction because, you know, your child is in their 20s and your 30s and you're a grandpa now and your role has been redefined, or, you know, your kids have just graduated from high school and things are a little bit different and things, you feel the little tension, you feel the little kickback from the advice that you give. Maybe it's a moment and a time for you to not give more advice, but ask more questions. Maybe it's that time to redefine that role, so you're not just you're not the instructor, but you're the coach. You're guiding their gift, you're guiding them, and you're affirming them. And if you haven't heard anything today, I want you to hear that maybe your son, maybe your daughter, maybe your children need to hear you're proud of them more. Maybe they don't need to hear your accusation or hear what they're not doing right, but maybe they just need to hear that, hey, you know what? I love you. You know, whether it works out, whether you still borrow money from me or not, you know what? I'm proud of you. I love you. You know what? You get on my nerves sometimes, but you know what? I'm proud of you. You know, you make me get gray hair. Maybe my blood pressure is going high, but you know what? I appreciate you. I value who you are. So take that moment. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to father them in this season. Don't be afraid to redefine your role in this season, but be what you can to them. And I tell you, maybe just maybe, you'll get a real great return on that investment. That maybe you have walked through a season and you're like, man, I cannot see a harvest from that. But maybe the harvest is on its way if you keep planting the right seeds. So guys, thank you again for joining us for another edition of Man Cave. Make sure you tune in for more. And if you have not seen the other part 1 and part 2 of seeing your children for the first time and what that meant, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. I'm sure it'll be a blessing to you. Thanks again for joining us.